municipalities are in exactly the same boat Toronto is. They need to build houses. They needed to build them yesterday plus 5 years ago. And right now, there's still a little bit of struggling and straggling to get the job done. And municipalities from London to Hamilton are no different. And the city of Guelph is no different as well. There was an op-ed in the newspaper, a letter sent in. Let's not build Toronto-style high-rises here. And this is starting to transpire a fair bit. You don't always get to pick your neighbors. I remember when I went to Western to go to school, there were 7 of us in one house for a couple of years, and we were just really, really nice to there was an older couple, empty nesters in their 50s, and we're like, oh, we don't want to get off on the wrong foot, because from time to time, we're going to be loud, and we're going to park in the wrong spot, and we tried to be so friendly to them, but there is a great degree in Ontario of the old NIMBYism, not in my backyard business. The mayor of Guelph is Cam Guthrie, and he's kind enough to join me now on Toronto Today. Mayor, I'm a big fan. Thanks very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, this is something, like I said, this is not unique to big cities. This is not unique at all to other places beyond Ontario. There's people that say, well, we need housing and we need to build here and we need to build there. And then when you tell them, okay, we're going to do it within a couple kilometers of your place or on your street or in your subdivision, somehow they stiffen up and forget what they said in the first place.
Yeah, you're explaining it well. I would totally agree with you. And I think, change is difficult, and it's even more difficult when you're in a crisis, and we are in a housing crisis. And when we have growth targets that the province is mandating to many of these cities, including Guelph, we are needing to really ramp up as much housing as we can, especially over the next 8 to 10 years, to try to accommodate the 1.5 million homes that are to be built in Ontario over the next 8 to 10 years. And so everybody has to do their part. And that includes the municipal government, but yes, it also includes you, ma'am, or you, sir, that is living on your street. You're going to see changes because we have to accommodate for that growth.
Yeah, look, everybody ends up getting an opinion. I won't read I don't want to, shame the person who wrote the letter. It's a democracy. It's a newspaper. They're entitled to print it the same way you're able to respond. She writes, low rise is the best answer going forward. Community is important, and she's concerned that the sun and sky would be blocked out by an 18-story high-rise, or even if we compromise and said it's 11 or 12. I suppose there are going to be people that feel that way, but that's not going to solve the problem.
It's not. And, on that specific piece of property, it's already zoned for 18 stories. And so the suggestion that it can't be any higher than 5, that's just not going to work. It's like me telling the same person, I'm appreciative that you just bought a new car, but you can only sit in the rear passenger seat and do nothing. They would push back and say, well, hold on, that's my car, and it fits 5 people in it, and I want to be able to drive it around. No, you can only sit in the back passenger seat and do nothing. And so that's the way people have to start to really think about these things. When land is used in a very proper, sustainable way, actually, density and going up into the air is actually way better for sustainability, transportation, walkability, density within our city. And we have a lot of properties that are going to have more height to it. And that's actually a better thing in specific spots for the city. And we're looking forward to it. Many people are. But with change, you're going to start to see some people say, I don't want that here. And really, at the end of the day, my problem with that is to say, you don't want certain people here. And that's why that letter also, you just read it, it said that to them, community is only defined as those with low-rise, detached type of homes. To suggest that a community can't also include people living on the 11th story of a building rubbed me the wrong way as well.
I mentioned that earlier. Mayor Cam Guthrie is joining us from Guelph on Toronto Today. Do you have that tension in your city with student housing vis-a-vis, are there areas that are not designated for student housing, but it's just where the students prefer to live? It might be close to transit, a grocery store, a bar, a gym, whatever. I wonder if that sort of tension is just, that's in every city where there's a university or college, isn't there?
Yes, there will always be that tension for that type of specific housing as well. And we've had that tension in Guelph. One of the things that I try to promote, though, is that if we try to put more students in purpose-built student dwellings, yes, usually they are higher density in the areas close to the university, as an example, it will actually free up the housing that they're renting in the neighborhoods. Those students will start to have more choice, maybe move out of those neighborhoods where they are 7 people to a house, like you were down in London, and that house now becomes available for a family to purchase and not stay as a rental. And so we need to really try to adopt housing for all. I don't care if you're homeless. Well, I do care if you're homeless, but I want you not homeless. I want you in a house. I want you to start off to find great rental. I want someone to be able to buy a house or a condo. I don't care if you're a student, an immigrant, a refugee, or a Canadian all your life. I want you to come to our city, and I want you to be able to afford a place to live. And the only way we're going to be able to do that right now is by increasing supply of housing units.
Where do you see as the biggest struggle? Is it simply the red tape? Is it developers that are willing to put shovels in the ground? What's the big holdup? When not just in Guelph, but if you spread it out and go province wide, where are we falling down when it comes to building what we need to here?
Well, I think it falls on all of us, and that includes me when I say that too. I think we have all contributed in some way to the housing crisis that we have right now. And I think municipalities do need to figure out how to not be as slow as they are and have been in trying to approve things. I believe the provincial government needs to help with helping with specific purpose-built rentals, social housing, or shelter systems for those that are most vulnerable in our community. I believe that the federal government even has a role to play if they can also provide funding for specific types of housing. But then the community has a role to play as well in not being specifically NIMBY, not in my backyard, but instead be YIMBY, yes, in my backyard. And I have really been encouraging my community to start to speak in that way, to welcome new people, to welcome these changes to our community, because you get to meet new neighbors, create new friends, and that's the way community is built. And I've actually started to see a change in the letters, in the delegations coming to council, in the feedback from the community to actually welcome people. So it is, everybody has to be on board on this to try to help with the housing crisis. If not, then the next generation, which happens to be the generation of my kids, I have a 20-year-old and a 19-year-old, they are going to be living in my basement for the next 10, 15 years, and I frankly love them, but I don't want that.
What are those conversations like in terms of buying a home and doing it themselves? They're different conversations than we had with our parents because of just the economic reality of Southern Ontario right now.
Okay, well, now I'm going to take off the mayor hat and talk to you straight up and your listeners. Yeah, I'm like a dad. All right, here we go. Dad Cam here. I'm angry. I'm frustrated, and I'm actually really, really concerned. My wife and I, we got married young. She was, I think, 19, and I was like 22, and we bought our first house here. We scraped together $9,500 as our down payment for our first house when we got married. I remember I had to sell my baseball card collection and my drum set just to try to get enough money for that down payment. I was making $21,000 a year in a salary, and my wife worked part-time at a ladies' clothing store. And we got a house, and we worked our butts off to get it. Nowadays, I now have a son who's 20 and a daughter who's almost 19. They're at the same age that my wife and I bought our first house here. And there is no way that they'll be able to find a house to buy here, let alone a $9,500 down payment. It's gone. It's out of reach. The dream is gone. It's turned completely into a nightmare. And I am so concerned for the next generation. And that is what we need to focus on as a community, is to say the comfortably housed people, we need to start to understand what the next generation of housing is going to cost for that next generation, and we need to rise up and say it's unacceptable, and we need to do whatever we can to try to help. There, my dad hat is off.
Your story resonates with me. It echoes a little bit with me, and I've got a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. And the way I put it is, hey, if you've got parents that can help, and both my wife and I had our parents loan us money, help here and there, to help us buy a $159,000 house in Livonia, Michigan, when we lived in the States. But you should get help from your parents. Your parents shouldn't have to sell their house so you can buy your own. And that's where we're at now. That's the scariest part of all of this.
It is. I agree with you 100%. And most people I talk to agree with me 100%. And so we just need to stop, with not trying to, as I said, accept change that is inevitable. And we need to think about the next generation, and I hope that we do that. I think we will, and I'm encouraged by moving in that direction.
Hey, I love the conversation, and let's have more like it. I know we need more mayors like you throughout the province, so I appreciate you coming on this morning.
Hey, no problem. Take care.
There's Cam Guthrie, mayor of Guelph.